With conscious mind tripping, I'm back in action. I have taken a little break and I'm back with my very, very special guest, my husband, Nicholas Newmont. So thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me on. It's like turnaround's fair play. I had you on my show a few weeks ago.
He did. So I'm going to tell you why we're doing this. I was watching this show. So I really like this podcast. It's with this guy, Alex Ferrari. He has a whole channel. It's called Next Level Soul Podcast. And I've been watching him, and he has a lot of people on who were channels and mediums and psychics and all of that. And I had him on, or I was watching his show, and he had this person on who was a medium and a psychic. And he was telling them, I'm so impressed because a lot of people are mediums and psychics, but you're a channel as well. And I'm watching this show and I'm going, oh, my goodness, my husband, he's a medium and a channel, and he's a psychic, and he does Numerology, has a book out on it. Astrology, he's a master and he teaches it on basic and advanced levels. And he does energetic healing and teaches that on basic and advanced levels. And he does energetic house cleansings, teaches it on basic and advanced levels. I'm his assistant sometimes. What else do you do? Oh,
well, palmistry, cards,
palmistry, and tarot.
And I use about 4 different tarot decks, and I teach all those.
He teaches all that, and the I Ching.
I
Ching.
And I'm also a clinical hypnotherapist.
Oh, yeah, there's that. Guess what else he does? He is a coach for girls softball at our local high school. He's the JV coach.
Right.
And one more thing, he's a great dad, and he is an amazing cook. You can't smell it right now, but there's chicken parmesan down there just waiting for me. And to be honest, he's just a really good guy. He's a really good person.
Oh, shucks.
Oh, shucks. Sure, I'll keep him. And guess what? We'll have known each other for 26 years next week on the 11th.
That's right. That's right. Mm-hmm. Amazing, right?
Right. And here we are still. We squabble occasionally, but we always make up and we get right back on track again. So we're co-business partners together at Newmont Center for Balanced Living. So with all of that being said, I have questions for him.
Uh-oh.
And if
I wasn't there at the time.
If you have, and by the way, he also used to do stand-up comedy, and he used to be a DJ, and I call him Disco Dan. He's one of those guys. He used to be a big dancer in the.
I was a competitive dancer in the disco era, and I was a club DJ.
Yeah. And in a few weeks, he's going to be 70. He's having a big birthday. We're having a 70s kind of themed party. So we're going to have a lot of good music playing. So with all of that being said, are you ready for your questions?
There's no better time like the present.
So question number 1.
Okay.
Question number 1. How was it for you? Like, when did you realize that these were things that were a gift for you? Like, how did that come about where all of a sudden you're like a psychic and a channel? And I know the mediumship came in recently.
The mediumship came in the mid-90s. So, it's really kind of wild to think about turning 70. And when you said, the mediumship came in recently. Yeah, that was 30 years ago. So a lot of changes. Look, to answer your question, according to my mother, there were things I did, when I was little, just about 5 years old, where I guess what you'd say, she recognized that I had some precognitive abilities. Mm-hmm. Now, nothing happened beyond that, but in my teens, there were a lot of instances of precognition. One, when I played football on defense, I would actually have visions on the field and know what they were going to do and intercept passes or recover fumbles.
Is it a form of cheating a little bit?
We talk about all football players, good football players having intuition for the game. No, it's not cheating. And then when I was working in a clothing store in Pennsylvania, I would just get these hits like, Mr. Green hasn't been in a while. And all of a sudden, it's going to come walking in. And that would happen a lot.
Mr. Green.
Well, whoever,
Yeah, just coming in with his clothes for his clothes.
Right, to buy, yeah. So those kind of things went on. Then I went through a period where it kind of got dampened, okay? And especially in the time, believe it or not, in the time that I was with I have an ex-wife, okay? And in that time frame, it seemed to get squelched, which is quite kind of fascinating. And then in the early 90s, when I went through...
Wait, back up. Why do you think it got squelched then?
Just energetic clutter, the interaction in the marriage. When you look back, and when I think about all the things I teach and how I describe, the condition of your aura, and how the aura overlaps with other people, that there are compatibilities and incompatibilities in the auric body. And it doesn't mean someone is right, wrong, or good or bad. It's simply at times, and I say this all the time, like your chakras are like keys on a piano. And we talk about the chakras, we want them to be resonant, but if they're dissonant, out of tune, that's like hitting B and B flat simultaneously in the piano. It's like, oh, it doesn't feel good.
And then you're not going to get that connection.
Right. But then in the early 90s, when I was going through a complete career change, because I had been in the fashion industry for almost 20 years, and then divorce, at that time, I started to meet a lot of people that were spiritually inclined or psychic. And that was sort of this door that opened, into that realm officially for me. But I always had an interest in the predictive sciences. Like I was always interested in astrology, back in the 70s. I didn't quite understand, but I knew enough to be dangerous. So, once I got into the 90s, that's when all of this, who I am now, took over. And when you go back and look at me from, say, the early 90s, 1992-ish to now, I'm really two different people. Now, people who know me for a long time, they know me as playful and fun and all that kind of stuff. But who I am, not just as a career, my belief system's way different than what I was the first, 38 years of my life. So it's a whole different set of circumstances. And it's amazing how the circumstances unfold. And this is almost a show in itself, where all these different things led to eventually how I would meet you.
How so?
When I think back on, how you and I met, and if I wasn't throwing a birthday party for a mutual friend that you knew, we wouldn't have met. And I wouldn't have met him if I hadn't dated a female friend of his that I met at a Whole Life Expo. And that was wild, because I told you about, should I or shouldn't I ask her out? And I turn on the TV and public access TV, and there she is, and you continue to turn that back, of different things. Like, for instance, when I was going through divorce and career change, you feel at times like you're bottoming out. And that's when my abilities really started to come on, and, recognizing spirit guides were coming into my midst and guiding me. And I remember this so clearly, that at that time, while it felt like so much was being taken away from me, that they were saying, do it our way, do what we're telling you to do, and you'll have everything that you want. And that was so profound, to, experience that, and what developed from that point on.
I think that's an important thing for people to get, because, Nick and I are both therapists together, and sometimes we work with the same clients. And always, of all these people that we've been working with for all these years, when my clients come in and they're bottoming out and they're having that really dark night of the soul, on a level, I'm like, wow, this is great. And
Yeah, it's
you
great.
know,
All right.
for me, looking at them from my perspective, it's hard that they're going through the moment. I have a lot of compassion and empathy for them, but I know when we hit that point and we're able to let go of some of the things that have been holding us back from that higher calling that all of our lives have.
Sure.
So when you had that moment and you're bottoming out, that's when, your gifts come on.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So where if you can really learn to let go, trust and let go of what doesn't serve you, instead of trying to hold on to that, and open up and receive what is trying to come to you. Because if we're not allowing what wants to come to us and we're over here, we can't get that because our focus is over here. And not just on a spiritual level, but if we're holding on to the past, you can actually miss opportunities, maybe a job or a romantic interest that you missed out on because you were here instead of here.
Exactly. So you bottom out. So when did it come about where, like, I know him obviously very well. We've been together all these years. And there's been many, I mean, we can't even count how many times at this point. It's like his guides have told him something, and it always happens. I mean, it's like, when did it come about for you where you really had that like voice in your ear, where they're giving you that kind of information and, those messages?
Well, especially in the mid 90s, 95, 96, when I began to channel Merlin. And so those channels in me really became clear and strong. And so I was hearing my own inner voice very well, but also hearing the voices of spirits at the same time.
How was it the first time you ever heard that voice?
The voice of a spirit?
Yeah.
Well, it's it's a very resonant kind of voice. It's a very direct kind of male voice that just says, do this, listen.
I've only had that occasionally. I had that one moment up on that boulder when I was up in Sequoia, and that voice says, "You've got to stop." I was like, oh, shoot. But I don't have what you have that way at this point in my life anyway. So I think a lot of people find that fascinating because, back when it could have looked like schizophrenia, right?
Well, if you're an absentee channeler like myself or a couple of my friends, right, it can seem like that. Like, what's going on here? But it's legit. I mean, anybody that's had a session or attended an audience with Merlin says that what he says is so accurate, and it's stuff that information that I don't know, or they say that no one really knows that about them.
Well, he channels Merlin, so he's going to be doing that for us before this show ends. I just wanted to get a good dose of Nick first. So have you ever heard that voice or any of that where it's like, I just really don't want to do this and I'm not going to do it? Has it ever happened?
Where I'm defiant to the voice?
Yeah.
No. Oh, no.
You get yourself in a little trouble that way, huh?
And there, I do have my own intuition. And, when people say, oh, don't do that. And if I would listen to other people instead of following my own intuition, that's where I get into trouble, because then it doesn't work out.
Are you talking about when we're driving together and your intuition says go left and I say go right?
No, we joke about that. No, I didn't mean that, but that does happen.
So then when you first channeled Merlin, then how was that for you to literally, because you step out, like he'll
Right.
channel Merlin and he has no idea what's been said. Merlin
Right.
is a complete different energy, so it's not my husband. And it's very interesting because he'll come back in and he has no recollection of what's been said. So how was it the first time stepping out and having Merlin channel through you?
Well, I remember we did this in a class. My original teacher that I learned how to do the energy work from on a very, shouldn't say primitive, a fundamentals scale, because we've innovated so many different techniques, but that's who it was with. And, you just have to let go and allow the voice to come in and let it talk through you. And there are a lot of people that, believe it or not, that it's not that they can't do it, they won't do it. There are a lot of people that are very uncomfortable with the idea of letting themselves go and have a spirit come into them.
It's scary.
So there's a lot of trust in that it's a good spirit, and trust in myself as a vehicle, that I'm going to be okay. I've never had an issue in any way, shape, or form with anything coming into me that wasn't supposed to come in. But along the way of your spiritual, metaphysical journey, there are entities that may show up in your dreams that try to intimidate you, but they really can't do anything.
I think that's an important thing for people to understand. You and I talked, I think, a little bit about it, maybe on your show. I think it's important for people to recognize that we're light beings. We're very, very powerful beings, and we have every ability to say no. It's when you are in a lot of fear, or you're under the influence, or you're putting yourself into like energetically compromising positions, that you're putting yourself in a kind of a psychic danger. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Well, you have to protect your energy field, and by whatever means that is. So Audrey talks about a bubble of immunity. I've erected energetic fields around myself to protect me from anything that is, say, non-physical dimension.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing happens. So I don't worry about it. And with all the crystalline energy that I use or have on me, that adds another layer of protection.
So how could the average person, protect themselves?
I'm going to say this, and we can talk about a little bit of techniques in the aura. When it comes to, when you said the word fear, when you are a medium, a psychic, a healer, you can't have any fear. And most of the time, the fear is connected to the ego, and it ends up being a fear of being wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's really what it's all about. And so that does not come into play. We do get challenging clients at times, and you can sit and wonder, what am I going to do with this one? But it's never fear. Now, some people are harder to read than others. Their energetic field is denser, or they're very analytical, and they make it challenging the way they respond to the information. But when it comes to creating an energetic blanket around yourself, most of the time we're referring to the solar plexus chakra, the one at the top of the stomach, and that's your conscious mind, and that is a possible point of control or manipulation. And so what I tell everyone, clients, students, that imagine that solar plexus like a big lotus flower going closed, and that way you can send energy out, but you won't take it in.
Yeah.
And you stay protected. And then, of course, if there are other healers or people in a situation that they need extra protection, we know that we learned about 20 years ago, we know how to clone the heart chakra.
He just did that for me not long ago. I have an extra little chakra.
And there is evidence on this, by the way, that people that I've done that to have gone into other metaphysical groups, and it creates a symbol there that it's being activated and working. And people have actually said to other people, why do you have that symbol near your heart? So other metaphysicians can see the work.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it is.
I think something that people would find fascinating. So when we're talking about energetic house cleansings, that is one of those fascinating things that you do that a lot of people would go in and they would be kind of terrified.
Well, let me say this. First of all, Hollywood has done quite the number on paranormal activity. all right? And they are there to sell movies, okay? Now, there are things that are called haunted houses, and I have been in them, but most of the time, when we do a paranormal investigation to perform a formal house cleansing, we don't encounter anything like lights flickering or things turning on and off, um, because that's not the gist of it.
But you have had experiences.
I certainly have. Yes.
So it's a fascinating thing because you have to remember we're people, we're humans in these human bodies, but we're in a sea of metaphysical stuff that's going on all the time. So there's all these angels and guides and
That's right.
spirits and entities and all of this extraterrestrials.
Right.
So there's all this stuff that's going on that most of us don't ever see. So one time in particular, and I'm gonna hope you're telling this story with me. I think you were doing one of your classes. He had a group that, the class at the end of it, they go and they do a house cleansing. And it was at Lisa's house.
Oh, yeah.
That one. So I want him to share with you what happened on that one, because I'm telling you, most of us would have run screaming from the place. But when you are in your energetic power and you're in your bubble, or being the flippin' sun, as I usually say, you're not going to be afraid of it because you're greater than it. But tell this story.
Well, when we have enough in a class, when I say the class, they get to a point where they graduate, and because that part of the program is a year and a half to almost year and 3/4 of a year, in working with me and learning layers and layers and layers. And to do a house cleansing, we perform the pentagram ritual, which is an ancient Judeo-Christian pagan rite. It's the best way to cleanse and bless a house.
And it's light, it's not dark.
Right, because it comes from the 5th branch of the tree of life, the branch of Gavora, which is the branch of truth and justice. So things can be revealed, so we can fix it or solve the problems. So we went to a student's house, and they had experienced scratching above their ceiling in their bedroom. And the husband had gone up in the crawl space, and there's no rodents, there's no rat droppings or anything. And we picked up on the fact that there was some kind of entity in there, causing this, and went up. And by the way, when we get into crawl spaces, spirits do like to hide in places that humans don't go into. Okay, they become like squatters. So we go up. Realized as we're doing the house, and they point out to me that one of those panels up in the ceiling, and it's like, oh, okay, we got to go up there, and we're doing this work, and for those of us that are metaphysically gifted, you can see a ectoplasm, the sticky stuff that's, oh yeah, there's something going on up there. So, okay, give me the ladder. And so I climb up in there, and there were all these they were more what I would call extraterrestrial. They were dimensional creatures that were like little, like pygmy looking things. And you could hear this, that stuff. And so there was, it was a sizable crawl space. You could stand up. It's not like you had to go like this, like a gopher. And there was roofing paper that was rolled up from when they had done their roof. And I look over, and there was, I guess you'd call it the queen, and this thing is rising up on it. Oh my God. And so these little things, fortunately, a couple of my students that were down there were very gifted, and these things started dropping down, and they were having to use the kind of wands that we use to take them out, to get rid of them, to put them in Merkabas, which are light chariots, and take them back into another dimension. So that was kind of crazy because
you guys came home and told that story, and I was like, what in the world? And at that point, I hadn't been doing any of this energy work, and I'm in my mind going, that's not my thing. So
Right.
now I'm busy doing the work with him. We just did a house that was 13,000 square feet, and we've done a few others lately.
Right.
And
Yeah,
and it's a very interesting thing to do. You know, when people have us come, we can read the energy in the house, and we can read what's going on, and afterwards we can help the client to get past those things that are blockages and various things. In fact, interesting enough, and I'm just going to say this as a quick side note, one of my clients recently that I work with remotely, she lives in another state. She was giving me a tour of her house and different things going on, and it's really smart to do that, because when we're able to be in your space and we know a little bit more about what you are living as, rather than just what people come in and present, then we can assist with, all right, so here's some things that are tangible that you can do to make your life better. And I wish everybody would let us do stuff like that, because when we're working with these homes together, it's like a kind of like a session at the same time to upgrade. What were you going to say?
Well, we also do businesses too, so we can help. This moves the dead energy, so we can actually make the house better, especially if someone is trying to sell a house. It helps clear the energy so it sells. But when we do it in businesses, it really helps the business prosper.
So that's the other thing you do. He's a profiler as well. So he'll go into a business, and he came home one time, he'd gone into a business, it's anonymous, and the business, there was one desk in particular, and he didn't know.
Understand it was a law office.
It's a
massive
office.
Law office.
Yeah, right. So he's doing this whole huge law office, and he was able to go to the owner afterwards and be like, well, the person that's sitting at this desk is basically stealing office supplies, right?
No, it wasn't stealing office supplies. It was the woman who's in charge of supplies, and knowing that it's a law firm is important. And I said to him, I said, you need to double check what she's ordering, because she's ordering way too much of certain things and not enough of others. And it was true that there is a type of legal pad for certain kinds of cases that is not used very often. And the owner said that they had so many of those pads that they not only didn't need to order any more, that there was enough that would outlive the life of the firm.
But that's just like one little story. Well, he comes home with all these stories. He can literally sit at somebody's desk or stay at
let me tell that.
Go ahead, yeah.
So at the same firm, and we're going around, desk to desk, and it's a lot. It's these jobs take hours. I went to a desk and I said to the owner, it's a young woman that sits here, right? And he said, yeah. And they said, have her direct boss look into her life, because I believe that she's an exotic dancer when she's not here. And it was true.
You have all these stories. Well, it's fascinating. People don't realize you can have your energy be in an area. If you spend a lot of time at your desk, explain that.
When I go other dimensionally, when I go into that part of my third eye, what I see is things like images of what was, okay? And that's also how I see the future and what's to be. So what I see are sort of holograms of what has taken place in that location, so that I can identify what's happening there.
That's fascinating.
So when I get into beyond the fourth dimension, the fifth dimension, where that surpasses time, I'm able to see what is, as all is the present.
That's fascinating.
So, but it's just like I joked before about in Iron Man when Tony Stark takes that computer and expands everything, and everything is holographic and he's moving things around. That's what I see, and that's when I'm doing energy work on people. So when I work on, say, somebody has a problem with their liver, I'm not looking into their body. The whole auric body is expanded, and I'm out here away from the body working on it. So they're holographic.
It's fascinating. So when he's saying that you can't see his hand, it's like he's out here. And I wanted to bring up that next, because when he does that energy work, it is, again, it's another fascinating thing. And because he's working in the fifth dimension,
Yes.
he is able to see things in a different perspective. And as an example, when he's working in that area, he's also seeing things in a different perspective, but his guides are chirping in his ear all the time.
Right.
And they're telling him things. As an example, we have a mutual client that I send to him. I send my clients to him on a fairly regular basis because I can sense when their energy is blocked or they've got something going on, and it's him that I would rather have work on him that way. So this person on this particular day, and you can tell the story after I get it started, this guy had, let's just say, blockages. And that day they were teaching him that, like, the chakra, it's shaped like a cone. And they're explaining to him that it has a silver wire that goes around the cone.
It's the DNA helix that's in the chakra.
So each time around the chakra is a year. So now what he does, and he learned it that day, he'll read the chakras to see where the blockage is. So as he's reading this guy, he's saying, you know, there's something that happened around 4 or 5 years old.
No, more like 10, between 10 and 12.
Well, whatever year it was. Yeah. Explain what happened there.
So,
and what happened to you.
So again, we would have to almost animate this. So when you look at the chakra, you can see inclusions, blockages, discolorations that have to do with negative thoughts, experiences, fear. All these things come in to sort of retard the spin of the chakra, the disc that sits in that cone. And so when I decided to go into the DNA of that chakra and I'm moving my finger on that wire, anything that is rough, bumpy, frayed, or broken indicates some degree of experience that was so traumatic to some degree. And so when I was working on him and I got to around 10, 12 years old, I said, what happened here that was so upsetting? And at this point, you know, I'm engaged in the chakra, which is electromagnetically charged. And I mean that literally. It has a charge to it. And he said, oh, that's when we had to move from the farm or the big house into the city, into a much smaller place. And while I was in there, then he said, oh, and because of that, I had to give up my dog. Well, he remembered activating the memory, and it let go of a charge. And when my hand was in there, what it did was cause a release of energy as if I had been tased. And
you felt his grief.
It was a strong release of energy. And it would be no different than putting your finger in a socket.
That must have been like...
Because it's like it went up my arm.
Wow.
You know, it hurt.
But you were able to help him release that.
Yes.
And then he's now able to open up that chakra. Right. And that was a big deal for him. I remember that clearly.
Right.
Yeah. What are some other experiences with the energy work?
Well, the one that you would know because it was your friend. Not too long after we met. So Audrey has a friend that was coming to visit, the friend along with the friend's sister and mother. And the friend was kind of overweight and kind of
she'd been in a very massive depression for a long time,
and I didn't know anything about her. I knew of her.
I don't tell Nick anything about people when I send them.
So she told her, well, you've got to have a session with Nick. And so it's like, okay, let's go to the office. And I was working on her, and again, you can track time, in the chakras. It's not just, one event. It's finding from, if you think of it as a cone, then down in the point of the cone, that's birth, and up here, the open part, that's the present. And so when I went down in, I said to her, I think at the time, I said, 12 years ago, you had a miscarriage and went into grief and depression and didn't forgive yourself. And she went like, oh, she said, I forgot about that. And it was very cathartic for her, went in and energetically cleared that. And so then you got the after session. So what was she like after?
It was an interesting thing because that day changed. I mean, her sister and her mother were like, what just happened here? And where she had been on some medication to help herself with her depression, a week later, she got off of it. And one thing has led to another. And I'm telling you, she's living her best life even right now.
Truly.
And that was like a good turning point for her. It's fascinating how many people don't really know or understand how to shift these things. And I was just talking with somebody today. This new client came in. She's like, 60 plus years old. And we were talking about different things. And she was like, and the session was like, I never thought of that, or I never knew to look at something like that. So it's important to get, when you have anything going on, there is always a solution to it. And it might be something unexpected. It might be, a wide variety of things that you can do to change it. Like for her, it was this energy session. It could be just about anything.
Well, people have to learn not to quit, not to give up.
Exactly.
To persevere.
Yeah.
Because, when we deal with spirits, they see our whole life. They have the grand perspective of where we are, what we're doing, where we're going, and they know what the outcome is. They don't tell us the outcome. They don't take free will and choice away from us, but they can see what all these possibilities are.
So when you're able to help them with that realm, or just as the hypnotherapist that you are, a lot of times it's these stuck beliefs that we have that it's impossible to get through sometimes. And when we're hypnotherapists, we're helping to break through those programs that we get ingrained since birth much of the time. So it's just a fascinating thing, all the things that you're able to do, even the astrology. You can help somebody. People need to make decisions. So whether you're looking at it astrologically, numerologically, using the tarot, all these things, it just helps to give guidance. That way the person can make their choice. It's always our client's choice on what it is that they do. Hey, I'm looking at the time. I want to make sure that we have enough time to talk with Merlin before we end this session. Okay. So could we invite Merlin in?
Can we?
Yeah. I love talking with Merlin.
When we get into what I'm about to do, okay, it is a gift and a blessing to be able to do this. Okay. I have been working with Merlin almost 30 years. And it's something that's very special to be able to do that.
It is.
And one thing about Merlin is that he's not going to tell you like you should. He's not going to come off like that, but he will say what he sees. Now, before I come in, we do have to tell the clincher story about Merlin, about when I was channeling for the whole class.
Oh.
Because you were in that class.
You tell that story.
So going back a chunk of years ago, I was teaching, I do teach a meditation and channeling class. It's an 8-week series that gets people, one, to meditate, because a lot of people don't meditate or they don't like to meditate, whatever that is, whatever the reason is. And so I was doing a demonstration on channeling, and I brought Merlin through. So I sat on the floor, on the carpet, and I had a big cauldron because we actually have Merlin incense.
Mhm.
And so I checked out and did it. And what the group witnessed.
It was wild. The incense is going, and normally it wafts up to the ceiling and dissipates.
Well, it dissipates all over the place. Normally,
Yeah,
smoke goes
throughout
everywhere.
the whole room. And on this particular day, the smoke is coming up, and it engulfed him. It literally surrounded Nick's personal body, and it kind of covered him. And it was weird because, smoke just doesn't do that. So why did they say that they did
Well,
that?
what Merlin said after the fact was there were non-believers there, and he was demonstrating what he calls dragon's breath, riding the dragon's breath.
Yep.
And all the smoke just hovered. It just stayed still and encircled my body, which Merlin was in at the time. And then when I came back in, everybody said the smoke just went.
Yep. It was fascinating.
And several of you reported that when I was channeling Merlin, it wasn't just the smoke in the cauldron was popping and flames would shoot out periodically.
Yep. Yeah, it was fascinating. He's also had moments where in our office, this is later, there was this guy that was coughing, and it was like a dry cough while Merlin was talking. And finally Merlin was like, that's enough. And he had him stop coughing.
Well, what people said was Merlin pointed his arm out to that guy and said, calm.
Yeah.
And the cough went away.
There was another moment where there was a bee that came into the office. I don't even know how he got in there. It's the only bee that's ever been in the office in all these years. And again, Merlin took care of that situation as well. So it's just fascinating. I mean, we could tell story upon story upon story of every bit of this. And it's been a lot of fun to, kind of grow into this with Nick, because this was not who I was when we first met.
By the way, I wanted to indicate, so when you watch, you notice that just about 20 seconds ago, I suppressed a yawn. It's not because I'm tired. When I'm calling Merlin in, that starts to happen.
Yeah.
It's air, okay? But I'm not yawning because I'm tired.
Yeah.
But I do.
And you'll notice my eyes start getting watery. I can feel the energy already. When I get a lot of energy going on, my eyes will get very watery, or if I'm starting to channel something, and the energy shifts in the room. So it's already shifting.
Yeah, and what you can't see, we're not going to show, is that all of a sudden a minute ago our cat came in. And just like circling around.
Jasper's like, Merlin's coming in. I've got to come and visit with them. So our big red fat cat is sitting there on the floor just waiting for Merlin too.
All right.
Never a dull moment.
Greetings, dear one.
Greetings, Merlin.
Good to be with you.
Good to have you here.
And there are those who are here, but they are not here.
Yes, they are in what you call the box. Would you like to share anything with us today?
You humans, you seem to grasp at how you say what is problematic. And yet you wish to know when things are going to become better. The human psyche is quite fascinating, as it must learn to circumvent what you call problem and release the knowledge of that situation and move into a reckoning of what the human mind wants to create or wants it to be. When the human psyche, which bases most of behavior on memory and knowledge of what was, cannot let go of what was, as you say, and it makes it difficult to create a new reality that is beneficial. Dear ones, at this time, part of the strife in your earth existence is the disagreements from humans to humans on major beliefs and yet petty circumstances that matter not in the grand scale of the human existence. And at this time, humans are finding it easy to be disagreeable with each other. The polarization of the human existence has been put in play by those in authority to thwart the process of the growth of man, do you understand?
Yeah.
And when the common man, as you like to say, realizes that he is being worked as a puppeteer who use a marionette and cut those strings, life for humans will greatly improve. But there is a belief amongst humans that they are completely dependent upon those in authority for a betterment of their life. The existence of the human physicality in relationship to attainments and possessions, relationships with each other, is in symphony with the relationship with Source. And when man begins to realize he is not subject to the decisions of authority, that energetically he can bypass the decisions made by man when he feels that man is being harmful. When man learns to energetically create for himself, not in relationship to being controlled, life on earth will greatly improve. But man has not got to the point of complete, how you say, fifth dimensional existence. Man is too caught up in what has been wrought in millennia ago. Man has been conditioned to rely on others for survival, sustenance, a roof over one's head, and being dictated to. Do you understand?
I do.
Mankind is coming into a time of spiritual revolution. And there are those that no longer believe they have to be controlled. You see.
Mm-hmm.
And in the times ahead, much information shall come to mankind that allows him to feel, how you say, freer. And the ability to make choices and navigate moves to create a better life.
Mm-hmm.
But man must connect deeper within the self, not the surface. You humans, you shall go through how you say, a challenging time for a while. Not smooth yet, no. But learn in the times ahead as you witness change, not to panic, to be calm in circumstances, and to be clear on viewpoints, not be tainted by emotion, to have one's eyes open to what truly is occurring, and learn to be more reliant on self, not those in authority. Those in authority are humans also, and they make choices. You see.
Mhm.
Is there information that you seek?
I think a lot of people are really struggling financially, and a lot of people are struggling with health. I mean, there's these different avenues that I see where there is just a massive amount of struggle. In particular, I'd like to look at the financial. Is there going to be a shift? There's a lot of talk of a financial kind of restructuring. Is there something that is going to be happening with that?
This has been in the making for some time. You, at this time, see evidence of change, and humans are somewhat threatened by change. It is not change for the worse, it is simply change.
Mhm.
And what must be and is ahead is a stabilization in how you say trade, that you have value, that you wish to exchange or something else of value. In your past of much simpler times, mankind traded their abilities or what they received from the earth or what they received from their animals to sustain each other. And man has created through time the ability to remunerate via something that is of the earth or something that is a representation of value.
Mhm.
The changes ahead will take some time, but there is an enrichment to those who wish to participate. Mankind is slow to change, and mankind is used to what is tangible as a form of value. At this time, you are learning that what you see in the box has value. And there are numbers attached to these values. For the young, they understand it. For those who are more aged, they wish to find something in their pocketbook that represents value. But there are, how you say, more prosperous times ahead.
Thank you. And then with regard to health, there seems to be a lot of new modalities for healing and a lot more information coming out around how to keep your health better, how to stay healthy.
Dear Lord, what must be understood is the belief system about health. The connection of the mind and the body is very sacred. And as man continues to rely on serums, things of that nature that have been created to alleviate a symptom, when man refers to, say, use of energy or natural supplementation to aid the body, it is the mind that creates the healing. And everything else changes the surface. the mind heals within. And when humans are referring to natural forms of things they can ingest, it is the mind that says what they are ingesting is good for them, you see.
Mm-hmm.
If you believe you heal, then you're healed.
It's very challenging sometimes to get to that belief when you're dealing with symptoms.
The mind has created illness. And if you are in a state of suffering, in your past you made decisions that put stressors into the body to create the circumstances that you have now. So the healing, while you may see a physician that you are given something to ingest, if you wish to heal the body, investigate the healing, the damage to the mind in the past.
Mm.
They are not separate, they're one.
Yeah.
They are one and the same.
Yeah. And I think it's important to understand the power of our mind and how that works. And I think that that is one of those things in this time in the world that more information is coming out, and necessarily so it's something that we've never learned, most people.
There is a true magic in the universe, not sleight of hand, not folly. The use of the mind to transform. That is magic, dear one.
Yeah. I've used that magic. Well, and I'm looking at the time, and we are going to need to have Nick come back into the vehicle. I can't even express how nice it's been to talk with you and have you share with all these people your wisdom and insights. Thank you.
You are welcome, and we shall speak again.
Yes, yes. Thank you. There's a really good book called Metaphysical Anatomy that has to do with the mind and how you heal your body using your mind and your feelings. And it's huge, but it's really, really good. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
That was wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
How are you?
Okay, I'm still coming back in.
People are always kind of curious what it's like for you when you're out.
I'm just in a space. I'm just holding a space.
You don't remember the space? You're just kind of like...
It's just there. It's not like I'm in a room or anything. It's just sort of like dimly lit, like I'm in a bubble or something like that. It's floaty, it's not like I'm sitting somewhere. It's just my consciousness is just put into this place where, okay, I'm safe.
I don't think people think about this very often, but when you're doing that, it's a real gift. People come in and have a session with Merlin along with
private sessions, yes.
And then they'll have, sessions with Nick. So Nick has all these different services that he offers. And when they come in and have a session with Merlin, it's kind of like you're giving up a certain amount of time in your life to be of service in that way, to have Merlin come through,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't never think of it like that until not too long ago, but it's a real gift that you give to people and, sharing it with our audience here. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. It's an honor to do that.
It is. And it's an honor to, experience him and hear in person. I'm telling you, the energy is different. And it's nice. He and I have gotten to be a little friendly, big friends. He calls me a grain.
That's for another time.
Yeah, that is for another time. Speaking of time, our time is ending at this point. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me on your show.
Thank you for being on my show. Now we get to go have chicken parmesan. And
I cooked it, not Merlin.
And I just want to share, this is the beginning of me being back in action. And one thing that I'm going to be doing coming up, I would appreciate you joining me. I am going on a solitude trip next week, starting on Sunday. And I'm not going to be on social media, but I will be posting. So I'm going to be posting it, not looking at whatever I'm posting, looking at comments or anything like that. So I think a lot of people are very curious how it looks to be on a solitude trip. So I'll take different moments and share the adventure with you. So you're welcome to join me, and you're also welcome to share with your friends. And you can share this video with your friends as well. So thank you so much for joining us, whether you're watching now or later. And anything else you would like to say?
Oh, thanks for having me on. I'm still coming back in. Yeah, stay tuned in the information we put out for upcoming classes and workshops that we offer.
Yeah.
Some really cool stuff.
Yeah. So much love to you all, and I will be catching up with you very soon. Good night for now.